Now, Albert Feynberg is on the line, and we're going to talk about his book, Bohemian Emancipation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing smashing, thanks. Now, this book, Bohemian Emancipation, what does that title actually mean?
So, allow me to provide you with an insight behind the development of this book. So, initially, I was planning to co-author my first book with Sigmund Rosenfeld, and our plan for the title was drastically different, believe it or not. And we were planning to call it The Rational God, Demystification and Demise. However, due to unfortunate circumstances and Sigmund's hectic schedule, I decided to write the book independently. Now, the reason we thought the aforementioned title would suit our book was because of our deep interest in different variations and manifestations of theism, but we were not only interested in scrutinizing it. Instead, we wanted to obliterate it to its very core and eventually propose a very naturalistic solution towards many philosophical conundrums.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, throughout my constant analysis of certain theistic scriptures and philosophical and psychological works, alongside my endless discussions with various individuals that held radically different beliefs, it occurred to me that it should not be in our interest to demystify, so to speak, that everything around us. Albeit the intention is, I would say, a rather noble one. It yet again is arguably a shallow approach towards understanding nature and thereby the human condition, as it devalues life's significance. Mysticism fuels our curiosity and consequently our will to life, or in more Nietzschean terms, the will to power. So this form of mysticism also appears to be in theism, but it could also be tracked within secular realms as well. Of course, there are various parameters we could analyze, but in short, the title Bohemian Emancipation is an attempt to challenge rather than lead one towards the so-called right path, as such path does really not exist.
Yeah.
And it is up to the individual to discover that path by developing their own philosophical methodologies. So that's the background behind the title Bohemian Emancipation.
And what is the main idea of the book that you're trying to communicate to the reader?
It is to challenge all of our current existing ideals, directly or indirectly,
Yeah.
with hopes that such fallacious philosophical methodologies could be quite harmful to the development of one's uniqueness within this world of ours. So I think that it is quite important for us to develop this strong sense of individuality, and I think that ideologies of today are, well, they could be seen as parasites to the human mind, and those are one of the crucial ideas. Develop your own philosophical methodologies, live your own life, and create your own right path, so to speak.
And what was it that compelled you to write this book?
I must say that it would be the rise of intellectual extremism that has
Hmm.
existed as far as mankind has, of course. But
Yeah.
particularly this age has provided us with a tremendous amount of intolerance covered through the colors of tolerance, which is quite intriguing, I must say. And I also would argue that modern day extremism is far more horrendous and most certainly far more damaging, since it's quite insincere and ingenuine.
Why do you think that an objective truth is impossible to reach?
I think that the concept of truth could be manifested very well numerologically. In short, our understanding of the world around us could always improve as time goes by, as much as one is capable of always counting up to a larger number. But nevertheless, it remains impossible to reach the highest peak of all numbers, so to speak. That being, of
Hmm.
course, infinity. One would always be closer to a zero than to infinity, regardless of what the value of that specific number is. There will always exist a better explanation, a better understanding, a better scheme, a better methodology, regardless of how far we have progressed.
Yeah. And what is double consciousness as well? Can you tell us about that?
That will take me a lot of time to explain the details behind it, because So basically, double consciousness, it was initially proposed to be an internal turmoil experienced by oppressed or colonial populations in an oppressive system.
Mm.
You see, the phrase and concept were originally used in 1903. Dubois published in The Souls of Black Folk. It's an autoethnographic work in which he documented the African American experience of double consciousness, including his own, of course.
Mm.
Originally, double consciousness referred to the psychological challenge that African Americans faced and always, it's the challenge that African Americans faced by always looking at oneself through the eyes of a racist white society and measuring oneself by the means of a nation that look back in contempt. It also referred to Du Bois' experiences reconciling his African heritage with his upbringing in a European-dominated society. You see, more
Mm.
recently, the notion of double consciousness has been extended to other cases of social inequality, most notably women in patriarchal civilizations and LGBTQ individuals in homophobic and transphobic communities. The concept of double consciousness is significant because it sheds light on the experiences of Black individuals living in post-slavery America, as well because it establishes a framework for comprehending the situation of oppressed people in an oppressed environment. So you see, as a result, it started to be utilized with race to explain the dynamics of gender, colonialism, xenophobia, and other issues, and so on and so forth. This theory provided a solid framework for subsequent critical theorists to build on. However, I think that there is a more profound interpretation that should be set forth. And that interpretation also embodies the famous golden rule. Do not do something to yourself that you wouldn't want anyone do not do something to someone else that you wouldn't want someone else to do to you. My apologies for the delay. And you see, I think that this famous golden rule, this idea of double consciousness, could also be found within a play called No Exit. Right? Have you heard of that play?
I don't think so, no.
It's a 1944 existentialist French play which was written by Jean-Paul Sartre. The play was first performed at the Theatre des Voix Columbia in May 1944. The play begins with three characters who find themselves waiting in a mysterious room. It is a depiction of the afterlife in which three deceased characters are punished by being locked in a room together for eternity. So it is the source of Sartre's especially famous phrase "L'enfer laisse l'autresse," or I don't think I pronounced it well, but it's a translation basically in English, which means hell is other people. Now this is a very striking and very unfathomable and very deep phrase, I would argue, which manifests once again, I would argue, the true roots of double consciousness. And it's a reference to Sartre's ideas about, the look and the perpetual ontological struggle of being caused to see oneself as an object from the view of another consciousness. So could you see the quite conspicuous link between Dubois' idea of double consciousness and Sartre's the idea that he was attempting to propose in his play No Exit.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that Sigmund Rosenwald, you were going to write the book with him originally, but did it independently. But he's still written the preface to the book. So can you just tell us a little bit about him, really, and who he actually is?
Oh yeah, Sigmund Rosenwald. Actually, I'm planning to. We're currently writing a book together, and
Mm.
he's a rather intriguing individual. His interests revolve around psychology, philosophy. He's very interested in psychoanalysis, to be precise. And he's currently a university student, as so am
Mm.
I as well. And yes, he also proposed that if you've read Bohemian Emancipation, you would see that in my work I've mentioned his historical framework that he proposed in it, which was rather astonishing, I must say. And he has many of those ideas, which we will include in our upcoming book. He's
Mm.
a rather intriguing individual, I must say. But yes, that would be about it.
Yeah. And in the meantime, where can we find this current book, Bohemian Emancipation?
Bohemian Emancipation, you can find it on Amazon. You can buy it online, purchase it through Kindle as well. You can also purchase the paperback and the hardcover as well. And hopefully, eventually, we're trying to push it forth to various bookstores as well in the UK and hopefully even in the US. But as of now, it's only on Amazon.
Well, many thanks for coming on today. It's been great to chat to you.
Thank you for having me, sir.